we were getting thousands of monthly users on those product tours. And so we were missing a huge opportunity for our nurture sequences on the marketing side. And so we decided to ultimately gate our product tours. Even if we do have a few drop-offs, the goal is through the product tours to get high quality product qualified leads.
Hey, I'm Corrina.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is Direct, a podcast we created to showcase the creativity and hard work of go-to-market teams everywhere.
We're here to share the stories and experiences of the hardworking, passionate individuals who make up go-to-market teams, the ones who truly make the magic happen.
Taylor and I have been fortunate enough to work side by side on some incredible projects together, and now we want to put a spotlight on the unsung heroes behind some of the best go-to-market campaigns out there.
In each episode, you'll hear from individual contributors who have gone above and beyond to make a difference. They'll share their challenges, victories, and the lessons they've learned along the way, all to help you unlock the next step in your career. Get ready to be inspired, learn something new, maybe even share a laugh or two.
Welcome to Direct. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Direct. I am here with my wonderful co-host, Taylor. Taylor, welcome back.
Hi, it's great to be back.
And we are thrilled to have our first product marketer on with us today. We are such geeks for everything product marketing, Taylor and I, and have kind of dabbled with it, I think, throughout most of our careers. But to have an expert in the house and in the chair with us today is just so exciting. Sydney Lawson, welcome to Direct.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. And Sydney, you just have a vast expertise in marketing. That's your background. And you've been working at Athennian as a product marketing manager for almost 3 years. That is quite the stint in technology. So bravo to you. And prior to that, you actually worked in healthcare software and you traveled remotely in a school bus for 2 years. I'm dying to just get what is the cliff notes of how did that start?
You know, once COVID hit, I feel like a lot of good stories start with that. So once COVID hit and everything was virtual, I was living in Toronto, which, as everyone knows, rent is super expensive. And I was like, why am I going to pay this rent to just sit in a basement apartment all day and work? I could be doing something so much more fun and interesting. And so, yeah, I bought a school bus in May of 2021 and spent the summer gutting it and redoing it, and then moved into it and took off in the fall and traveled. My partner and I traveled for almost 2 years. It was super fun and just worked remotely for the whole time. So we started in Canada. We did East Canada and then went down through the States and basically did a big loop around. Ended up we went through Texas, Arizona, Utah, California, Oregon, Washington, every kind of bucket list state. So we did a lot of really cool traveling.
Was internet hard to come by? I know Taylor is our resident farm life expert with internet.
Yeah. That I feel like I was on a lot of meetings sometimes where my internet was horrible and I was like, is it me? Am I the problem? And it turns out yes, I was a lot of times. But yeah, we basically just used a hotspot. And so just kind of roamed around that way. But yeah, it worked for the majority of the time, I would say, depending where we were. As long as we were in a good service location, then it was fine.
And you are without school bus now. Is that correct?
Well, I still have it, actually. We did a camping trip this past weekend, actually. But it is on the market. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll plug that in there if anyone's interested.
We'll make sure to drop the listing in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm selling it. My partner and I got a puppy. And so, we need a little bit more of a stable life for that. So.
Well, we can certainly relate to that. I have one puppy now, and I cannot imagine having that monster on a school bus.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Taylor's got donkeys and goats and
wow,
animals galore.
Animals galore. 5 dogs inside the house. It's too many dogs for anybody listening.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're just with the one, and we're like, oh my gosh, our free time is soaked right up. So, but it's fun.
Well, we're so honored that you chose some of your free time to spend with us today and share with us a little bit about your journey, particularly as it relates to how you're kind of transforming the way you guys do demos, which I think is just such a soft spot for anybody that's in tech. But before I do that, Taylor has a special question And we have some special props with us today to make the visuals even more appealing. So Taylor, I'll kick it over to you to ask Sydney our first question.
Yeah. I will shout out back to Corrina for our special props today. We actually decided to go all in and get actual magic wands for anyone watching this visually. Added bonus for anybody in Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You're missing it. These beautiful magic wands. But if you haven't heard the podcast before, Sydney, the reason for the magic wand is to ask you this special question. If you had your own magic wand, and you could change anything about your role, product marketing, or even in your personal life, what would you change?
That is a really, really, really good question. I feel like it's getting better, but I think just the understanding of what a product marketer does and what the role actually is and what our responsibilities are, I just think my life would be so much easier if everyone already knew that. And I know it's even like, I first even heard about product marketing when I got out of university. And so it's still, I feel like for a lot of companies, it's still a relatively new role. And I'm really grateful for Athennian. It was actually one of the very first marketing hires that they did. And so, obviously our executive team understands the value of it, but so many people don't. And so many people actually don't know what we do. So, people will send me a slide deck being like, can you change the font in this? Can you change the colors? And I'm like, I mean, I can, but that's not what I do. My role is a lot more strategic than that. And so I think that would be really helpful, especially as it relates to, working with cross-functional teams internally, but also, managing third parties just outside of our marketing team.
I can totally relate to that. And I am wondering if you could kind of just really quickly cliff notes for us. What would you say that people say you do as a product marketer at Athennian?
Yeah. I think people just truly maybe just don't understand the role. And so they just assume this is like a general marketing role and that Sydney's responsible for, making our sales decks look beautiful, managing our website, managing our design team, updating screenshots, and like all of this stuff. So I think that's the first thing, is that people just truly don't understand the role. So they just assume it's very general. But then I also think people they kind of separate the role. So like, is Sydney responsible for something on the product team? Is she responsible for something on the marketing team? When in my experience, it's really been a split. So, I report to the marketing team and I, sit in on our marketing stand-ups, and I have a full understanding of what is happening on the marketing team in terms of campaigns and how product marketing can support that. But I also sit in on the product stand-ups, and I also have a good understanding of what the product team is working on regularly, what they're responsible for, what's new coming to the product. And then I also have a hand with our customer success team. So understanding like what communications our clients are receiving, what they need to receive, how to enable our customer success managers, and that kind of thing. And then also it's a two-way street in the sense that I'm sharing this information with them and with our sales team, but also I'm collecting that information back from our customers and then back just from the market in general. And so, yeah, I think people tend to kind of split the role and they don't really know what I'm responsible for. And I've actually had people ask me, like, they'll get on a call with me, we'll do like an intro call or whatever, and they're like, so what do you do? So, I feel like something like an account representative or, an SDR or anything like that, a lot of people are already very familiar with those roles and what they do. But product marketing manager, I think, is one of those maybe newer roles that a lot of people just haven't worked with before.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And I think that so many people too, like from company to company, obviously you're in the tech space. I think it's kind of common for people to almost even be assigned like a product marketer per specific type of product line, right? Like if you
Yeah.
have like a multi-tier product. So yeah, it's just like, it gets so blurred, especially when you're reporting into marketing. But like you said, it's really 50-50 split because you're so tied to the product. You said that this was one of the first marketing hires that your CEO made. Can you tell us a little bit more as to why he thought this would be very important? Does he have a background, or he or she have a background in marketing, or what made them understand that this would be such a crucial role to fill first?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't directly asked our CEO about that, But I know that when I joined, we had a growth marketing manager, and then we also had a I forget the official role, but essentially a data specialist who was looking at our CRM, which is HubSpot, and just setting a really solid foundation there. So I think those hires were just critical to the foundation of what our marketing team is today. And so, you know what, our I don't want to speak for, our CEO, but what I will say is that he is very hip, I guess is the right word, like knows what's going on and just knows what's going on in the market, knows what's going on with other companies and what they're doing, and also just knows what the company needs and when. And I think it's very like future forward in a way that those three were the first hire wasn't a graphic designer. It wasn't a web developer. Like we know that we can make that stuff happen, whether it's, we partner with a third party or we outsource that kind of work. But I think that's a mistake that I see other companies making as well, is not necessarily a mistake, but not hiring for those foundational roles first to get the processes in place before the team starts to grow. Because I just know now, and compared to the other companies that I've worked with in the past, we have a really, really solid foundation for tracking and measuring all of the data that comes through our marketing and product marketing and sales and customer success channels, I guess you could say. And I think that's because we did have that really solid foundation, from day one.
And that speaks so much to just the maturity and the understanding of the customer that your team has, which is so valuable. And it really transitions into the project we want to talk to you about today, is where you used a demo platform, Nomadic, to build and tweak sort of these custom demo tours, which were geared toward that data motion you're talking about, preventing drop off and building more awareness for Athennian. So can you tell us a little bit of background on why you guys wanted to approach, or how you guys highlighted this problem and came about, purchasing and using this tool to solve it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So a problem or a challenge that we had, and I think this is something that's pretty common when it comes to software that has a lot of complexity in it, just, similar to Athenian, is that we wanted to create a demo, some kind of an interactive demo. We didn't want it to be just a video where people can, sit there and watch and their brain kind of checks out. But the issue was we wanted to have data in the Athenian platform that was realistic, instead of just kind of having like dummy data in there and having to go in and update it all the time, or having, the platform have like bugs or whatever. That's just another environment that we would have to continue to maintain. And so we were trying to figure out what is the best way to do that. And with these software or the tools like Nomadic, that you can actually it's basically you can pull the data from the software into it's like an interactive screenshot, I would say. And you can kind of create your own pathways that you want the users to take. It was the perfect solution because we didn't have to, continuously be worrying whether or not that people are like messing with the data or whatever. Like we could kind of control the narrative of how people experience Athenian. And for a lot of people who are taking our product tours, they're experiencing Athenian for the very first time. And so we wanted to be able to create a story around that. And so, being able to add tooltips and stuff like that you can do in Nomadic was just a very simple and intuitive way to do that.
I love, Sydney, that you're highlighting on the fact that the biggest hurdle, like to get something like this off the ground, is something that I think everybody faces when they're faced with like, should we start to do more personalized interactive demos or not, is the data set. And having to do that inside your own technology can be really cumbersome and really challenging. And like you said, too many people can touch it and mess with it. So that's such a huge point for why people actually get stuck with like not doing more like product led marketing initiatives. How long did that take for you guys to identify that as being like a roadblock? And what did you guys do to like quickly pivot and overcome that, aside from maybe researching other technologies and solutions to help you?
Yeah. I think we noticed that pretty quick, because another big challenge as well is that we just simply didn't have the engineering resources to be able to maintain it. And so it was kind of an unrealistic ask, like, hey, we know you have 1,001 things already on your plate that had to be finished yesterday. Do you mind
Right.
like creating and managing an environment that we're going to use in the sales cycle? And so, we didn't even bother asking that question because We knew that there had to be a better solution out there. So I think it was, we realized it pretty quick that we were going to need something to be able to let our product speak for itself, but also have a way to manage it easily on the product marketing side. And the other thing that I think is really important as well is just to be able to have analytics associated with it. Because I think the other big thing is, we're not only showing people this is Athenian and look how great it is, but we're also capturing the data of where are they spending their time, what features are they looking at, where are they getting bored and, exiting out of the window. And then also where can we take that information and send it over to our sales team before they even have that initial conversation and just say like, look, this prospect spent a lot of time here. Maybe this is a major challenge for them. Maybe that's something that we need to talk about in the initial discovery. And so there's a lot of things that we can actually do with the data from users going through those product tours as well.
You hit on something really painful for a lot of sales and marketing teams right now when they're doing the recorded demos or even demo flows in the sales cycle. A lot of them are going back and forth about, well, what do we show for this type of buyer? What do we show for this persona? Well, if both of them are on the call, this person's eyes are going to glaze over. So I think it's incredibly cool that you've allowed, you put together the premise of a self-guided tour and are able to surface those types of analytics. So I am curious, you started to touch on it. This is something that you guys have made available not only in the sales cycle, but before the sales cycle begins. Did I get that right?
Yeah, exactly. So something that we actually added to our website, I think last year or the year before, we call it our demo center. And so it's essentially just a landing page filled with all of our product tours. But we've created like specific, I guess you could call them like user journeys or pathways. So at the, halfway down the page, maybe we have a title in there that's like, what challenge are you facing today? And we have, I think, 8 or so different product tours that people can self-select based on the challenge that they are facing. And so that tells us something really valuable, which is we know what challenge they're having. They told us. And so we can approach conversations with them already knowing or having a good idea at least of what challenge that they face. Because the more efficient those conversations are, the better it is for everyone involved. And so we get that piece of data right off the bat. But then it also just gives people an opportunity to look deeper into Athennian and just explore some other areas that maybe they're interested in or maybe they're not, and so they drop off. And then we're better prepared and the sales team is better prepared when it comes to those conversations. We know where to spend our time, or maybe, we notice that a user comes into the platform, they check it out for 30 seconds and they leave. We know, or maybe we have a better idea that that person might not even be worth a conversation yet. Maybe they're not qualified. And so it's helped to just speed up our sales cycle and get people through the door they already know, they've told us that they have a challenge already. They already know that Athenian could be a potential solution. And so we don't have to spend our time convincing them they have a problem. They've already told us that they do. We don't have to sell them on the problem that they have. We can just focus on selling the solution.
When it sounds like Athenian has been really, like, your leadership has been really open to this like transparency in this sales process, and not a lot of companies are that transparent. Did you have any challenges of, putting the demo flow, allowing people to self-guide through that when you were proposing this idea? Or everybody was like, yes, go for it, 100% transparency?
Yeah, you know what? I think we didn't have any issues at all. And actually our CEO, I worked pretty closely with him on getting this out of the door. I think something actually that he told me when we were working on this. Well, first of all, we know that Athenian's interface is much more modern than our competitors. And so it's just the interface itself. People in the industry, if they've used one of our competitors before, they don't even have to really go that far into the product tour before they can see, okay, this is a lot more intuitive than some of the older competitors that we have. But yeah, something that our CEO told me was, I was like, okay, you know what, when we get this on the site, and what if our competitors come and look at it? And he's like, well, that's good. If our competitors come and look at it, that means we're doing something right. We want them to look at it. Otherwise, then we have a big problem. And so actually for the first couple months, we left our product tours completely ungated so anyone could access them. And the reason why we did that is we wanted to just let the product speak for itself and just remove any sort of friction for getting people in the door and just keep track of, the analytics and how many people were actually going through the product. But then we noticed that we were getting thousands of monthly users on those product tours. And so we were missing a huge opportunity for our nurture sequences on the marketing side. And so we decided to ultimately gate our product tours, even if we do have a few drop offs. The goal is through the product tours to get high quality product qualified leads. And so if people don't want to give us, their email address or their name or whatever, it just shows they're not really that interested. So they're not, we don't want them in our funnel anyway.
I love that so much. There's so many like just nuggets of wisdom that you just shared. Yeah. I think one, I love that you guys went with just like testing the market first and just flooding it with people accessing it. Cause I think that just empowered your, like, do we have the right analytics set up? Are we tracking the right things? But secondly, I think to your point, like, of course you want to get that information so you can know how serious they are or not. And I think a product, you called it a product lead. I think a product lead is probably one of the highest intent signals out there, right? If you have somebody poking around your technology and willing to give them your name and number and, email address. So all of this is just, I think, really incredible. And I love that your CEO recognized too that, like, the competitors, they're looking at your product anyways. I mean, every single job I've ever worked at, my sales team knew every competitor and what they looked like and who was their customer and who wasn't. Like, you're not doing your job right if you don't know that. So, and to your point too, you'd be irrelevant. So I'm glad that he was open-minded with that and wanted to lead with transparency. And you do find that the more user, friendly a tool becomes, the more the CEO is willing to bend. The only time I've ever been able to get anything like that out the door is when we've actually updated our product and made it look beautiful and say the right words and what have you. But I wanted to get back to, because you're talking a lot about analytics, and it's really kind of like, marketing gets dinged a lot for showing vanity metrics. And I think what you're doing here is not vanity metrics at all, right? Like, you could definitely tie what you're doing to actual business outcomes and metrics. So I'm wondering, you definitely can see when somebody drops off or if somebody's losing interest, or how, like, what may interest them, beyond just the initial touch point, like overall, like maybe they want to expand their use case for using your solution. But I'm wondering if you guys have like shown some impressive results, or how long it took to show those results of like maybe sales velocity, right? Like, how quickly were they able to move through the sales cycle, or identifying more buyers at account on average? Can you share with us some of those metrics that really stood out to your CEO or just leadership in general that, like, directly correlated to business outcome?
Yeah, for sure. I have to shout out our revenue operations manager who that's actually the original person who was hired, who was one of the first marketing hires with myself. I think he started a week before me.
That's a smart one too.
Yeah. So he has put together a dashboard in HubSpot that is strictly for product marketing initiatives. And one of those big initiatives is our product tours. And so on that dashboard, we're actually able to see a ton of different metrics, but some of them being like qualified leads that we've brought in throughout the entire process, all the way down to closed, lost, and closed won if they came from a product tour or from, any sort of product marketing content that we have. And so that's really awesome to see that with these initiatives, product tours and other product marketing things. I feel like that's a challenge that a lot of product marketers have, is showing their value, because a lot of the work that we do, it can sometimes be hard to measure. And so by putting together a dashboard like this, we're able to see how many actual dollars did that product tour bring in to the company. And so we can see that on that dashboard. Off the top of my head, I don't have any numbers to share right now, but what I can say is that we have seen an increase in sales velocity, absolutely. And then we also have a qualification rate for our leads that we generate on the marketing side. And those are calculated through a scoring system. So if a user engages with, if they download a PDF from our website, they view a case study, they look at a blog post, they take a product tour, and they fill out a demo form, all of those actions will automatically add a score to their profile. And then we'll be notified once that lead becomes sales qualified. And so that's another metric that we track is those sales qualified leads coming in from the marketing team. And we're responsible for a certain amount of those every month. The sales team gets those leads and they know that these leads align with our ICP. And so, we've gotten better and better at tweaking what that scoring looks like over time. And I think it's just going to continue to improve. But that way we know, the sales team isn't wasting resources and time on leads that may not get them anywhere.
And it sounds incredible that you were talking about all of these analytics that you have available to not only take credit for kind of getting these people in the door, but also to optimize other processes. So you're learning from this information what certain roles and personas are interested in with your accounts, and different, pieces of your ICP are interested in the product. Have you taken that information and applied it not just to these leads that are coming from this source of the demo, but your sales cycle in general to better serve and create demos that are live and during the sales cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the benefits of using Nomadic and similar platforms is that you have all of that data and all that analytics at your fingertips. And it's really helpful to be able to take that and apply it to, our sales cycle and our processes on the product marketing side. And so, yeah, we've been able to not only through the demo center, what I was mentioning, like that we're asking people to identify what challenges they're having, but also looking at the analytics in Nomadic, where are people dropping off? What features are they spending the most time on? Because, that indicates what we should or shouldn't be focusing on. And so that's really where our demo center started and came to life. Was we had a couple like overview product tours that had different pathways that users could self-select and go down a pathway. And so that was pretty successful, but we were like, okay, how do we do more of this and sort of further segment our audience? And so since then, we've created different product tours for different challenges that our ICP has, but also for different personas. And, as we know, different personas have different challenges depending on the industry that they're in. And they also have different use cases for Athennian. And so to be able to show more of that and get into the weeds of it a little bit before the user even has to talk to a person in sales, that's just been really valuable.
That's incredible. And I have one more question for you. How do you think this has improved your relationship with sales and that trust between sales and marketing, and particularly product marketing and sales, being able to surface these?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been really helpful. I think sales is confident that the leads that we're bringing in are qualified and we're not just wasting their time putting demos together and that kind of thing. But it's also, from what I understand, really been helpful for our outbound team, specifically our SDR function, because they're able to, after they get off a call with one of their contacts, they're able to just send over a product tour like, thanks for your time today. I know you're, in this industry and this is your role and these are the challenges that you're facing. Here's a product tour that's very specific to that person. And then that way there's no pressure to book a sales demo. But once that individual goes through the product tour, they're like, okay, I already know I have the problem. Athennian basically lays it all out of how they solve this problem and how they've done so for other people who are, in a similar role at a similar company. And then they just start to create more trust with Athennian as well. And then, of course, after the product tour, they can request a demo. And so I think just overall, I would say it's increased confidence in the sales team and in our outbound team. And another use case that we actually use our product tours for is for customer enablement as well. So once, the prospect has crossed the finish line and they've become an Athennian customer, when we have a new product to release or a feature comes out that needs a little bit more enablement than usual, we'll let of course we have our dedicated customer success team. But if there's an opportunity for us to just create a product tour and sort of save everyone the time and our customers can go through it, on their own watch, then that's been really helpful too.
Incredibly helpful. And as you're talking through all these different use cases, I'm going to bring us back to the first question we asked you, which was, if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about your job, you chose to answer for your job, and you said you wish that people just knew what the hell a product marketer did.
Yeah.
And when you're speaking, right, you're very clearly articulating like how you're solving like for other customers, like what is it that Athennian does, right? By their use case, like through their lens to help them understand how that you can drive value. So I feel like the magic wand is already inside of you. And I have a couple of ideas of my own, but I'm wondering, as you've been talking to us, have you been thinking, oh, you know what? I could maybe have a use case of my own to help solve for this problem. But I wanted to share with you first to see if there was any thoughts you have, but also happy to share with you some thoughts and ideas I had.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. It is kind of challenging because, you know, as we've been having this conversation and I'm kind of thinking in my head, "Oh, I could talk about this, I could talk about this." I'm kind of like, we do it all, like product marketing
Mm-hmm.
is literally the whole package. Like we're doing customer enablement, we're doing product enablement for sales. We are also supporting marketing campaigns with the product and knowledge in the background. So,
Net new, yeah. It's across the
yeah.
board. Yeah. You're
Right?
serving
So,
everybody.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it is kind of challenging to just pinpoint, one, not necessarily one thing, but one sort of like, I guess, value proposition that product marketing brings because there's just so much.
Right. I think that when anybody's really good at what they do, you just get people coming to you for everything. And Taylor, I know you can relate to that too. So I think you have a little bit of that going on, that you're just a really fantastic marketer, and you definitely know how to like hone in on a problem and solve it quickly and with ease. And it's definitely leading to business impact, and it's across the spectrum. So it's net new, it's customers, it's internal, like people are just understanding how to sell this product better because of the programs that you put in place. So you are just across the board enabling success. And so what I think you could do is something that I've done before is for like ABM account-based
Mhm.
marketing can be so nebulous for people. So many sellers I would talk to, and they would be like, I don't really understand what you do, how it's different from like these, digital
Yeah.
marketers over here, or these product marketers over there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just hold an office hours. I'm going to have people drop in and drop
Mm.
out. And I'm going to have them hear like the kind of questions that like my go-getters, like they know what I do, they know the value I
Yeah.
bring. I'm going to have them there and have other people just listen to the kinds of questions they ask
Mm.
me and the kinds of ways I respond. And then I'll do like a FOMO, if you will, like a newsletter where I share like, here's what's new, here's what's working. And that's that middle section, what's working is the biggest like bullseye for people
Mm.
like, oh, I want to replicate success. I'm going to do that. And then what's coming next? And it seems simple, but like just like your demo center, right? It's almost like you're creating your own center of excellence so that all these different people that you support, because it's so many client success, product,
Mhm.
marketing, sales, like net new, retention, like it's just across the board. You're serving everybody. But yeah, having that arena where you're there as the expert, right? And you have other people from a variety of different roles asking you for different things. You can even direct them. Like if you're not the girl that updates a sales pitch deck,
Yeah.
you can direct them to how they can request that, right?
Right.
So it's a lot of show and tell, which is so much of like what you've just shared with us today about interactive demos. But I think that would like really serve you well as far as like people seeing your power and how you can be best utilized.
For sure. That's actually a really great idea. And I love that middle section of like what's working. And I don't know if this would be the right place where you would put in like those kinds of metrics, but I feel like sharing that with the wider team, I feel like that would be, really helpful as well so they can actually see like cuz I know that qualified leads come through, but
Mm-hmm.
and also shout out to our management team like in the SDR function and sales cuz a lot of the time they're like this is from product marketing and so they share that.
It's
But
amazing.
it is really, I guess, reassuring to see that if even sometimes we'll get a deal that the sales team closes and I track it all the way back to, oh, on this date, however long ago they took a product tour and that's where this originated from. So it's really interesting to see those kinds of things come through, but usually they're just like living in my head and I'm like, "Oh, that was cool." But
No,
like,
share them.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love Corrina's show and tell. I would tack
Yeah.
on show and tell and take credit. Take credit for what you're doing. For sure.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really great idea.
Well, I am just so excited to see everything you're going to accomplish. I feel like you've just kind of like hit the tip of the iceberg for what you will be able to achieve in your career. And I'm curious, before we let you go, this master's that you're going to be getting, will this be something that you're going into in person? Will you be taking classes on the school bus? Will you be taking classes landlocked? Tell us more. What do we have to look forward to for this next journey and next chapter for you?
Yeah. So it is a master's of digital product management. And the reason why I chose this program is because it's super unique, because it's not just product management. It's not just software development. It's not just marketing. And those were all, when I was considering a master's, I was like, all of these are very specific. And so what I really liked about this program is that it has those sort of more, I guess, they're specific, but it's specific to a niche, I guess, which
Mhm.
is learning how to, and I guess developing the skills of how to manage a team of software developers or product managers. So there's a little bit of leadership in there. There's a little bit of software development in there. And there's also a little bit of marketing, which I had to keep in there. So I'm really excited about it. And yep, it's a completely virtual remote program, and it's designed for people who are working full time. And so
Mm.
I'm, I'm really excited for that. I don't have to quit my job, but I can also take the learnings that I apply through this master's and literally apply them, the same day. And so I'm really, I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited to meet a lot of new people and do some networking, because the average age for this program, I think they said, is 35. So there are some folks
Wow.
yeah, they're executives. They've been in the field for potentially decades. And then there are
Mhm.
people like me who are just, or maybe even younger than me, who are, just getting into it and ready for the next step. So yeah, I'm super excited for it.
That is so inspiring. I love ending on that note of just like the growth never ends for anybody. Like it's only up to
Oh,
you
for
if you want to
sure.
end your growth. So yeah, that median age is like very inspiring because I'm very close to that median age. And I'm always wanting to just continue to grow. So Sydney, I'm so excited for what's in store and what's ahead of for you. And we're leaving the school bus behind. We're planting our feet with the puppy, and we're just going to get better and better. And thank you so much for joining us today. We had so much fun with you, Sydney. Thanks for listening to this episode of Direct with Corrina and Taylor.
If you enjoyed what you heard in today's episode, please give us a follow, maybe even a 5-star review, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And if you know someone that you'd like to spotlight, if you want to share your own story, visit us at motionagency.io/direct. We'd love to hear from you.